was not meant to happen. This could not happen. This is happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, another episode. We're here again. Exactly what the doctor asked for. What the doctor ordered, that's what they say. Either way, it doesn't matter.
So
We're here. We're here. You're ready to listen to what we've got to say today, or this week anyway. Joining, once again, we have the two, I was going to say special co-hosts, but not that special. Adam, Stephen, how we doing? How we feeling? How's your weekend?
Respect, man. Respect. All right? Me, 3 titles. You 2, 0. I had a great weekend. I had a busy weekend.
Did you?
Caught up with you lot, actually. And,
Wow.
it was
Yeah, we had a
good.
fun night. Surprised we can speak.
It was. It was a bit loud, wasn't it? Well, for those who don't know, we had our pre-season soccer night out on the weekend. We ended up at karaoke, which is pretty. Relative considering last week's episode with the songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of
I
those
heard there
songs.
was a few people sounding like Sean Dyche after karaoke.
Oh,
So-
absolutely. Absolutely. All in fine
Excellent.
form, I think. Fine form.
What was your favourite? What was your favourite song? What do you reckon went off the most?
You know what it is? I think as soon as we started with me and James's duet, Cup of Life, I think we're going to be that one, to be
Cup of
honest.
Life.
That was big.
To be fair,
Big.
Danza Kuduro, that's what it's called. That
it
went off
actually.
too.
Got everyone off the chair up. Yeah.
Everyone off the chair, jumping up and down. It was big.
Yeah.
Good night. We're prepared. It was meant to be the night out after our first game, which unfortunately got washed out.
Hey, still undefeated.
Still undefeated, correct. But to those fans who made the travel, who didn't know that it was washed out, we do apologise. But come back again this week. It's a 1 p.m. kickoff at Bremner, which is just across the road from Morrison. The forecast is saying it's going to be clear as day, the weather. So you'll be able to see us at our mighty best on
Come
Saturday.
and say hello.
Yeah. Especially to the international travellers.
Absolutely. If you want any autographs after the game, photos with the players, just let us know.
Very exciting. Very
So
exciting.
on the agenda today, we have a quick recap of the weekend's fixtures. There's a few big games. And seeing as the season started to draw an end, we're obviously going to start slowly recapping what's been going on in the season. What we've done is we've pulled apart the 10 most expensive signings in the Premier League at the beginning of the season. So the summer, or the European summer, just before the start of the EPL season this year, we've got the 10 most expensive signings, and we're going to rate them as a success, a failure, or too early to tell. And obviously, we're going to finish up with our favourite coach's son of the week nomination. So, boys, any particular games catch your eye?
Yeah. You know what? The one that did this morning, actually, even Spurs got the win and Liverpool wasn't too great. It was Sheffield United coming back against Chelsea. You really would have thought Chelsea's momentum after that comeback against United, that they just would have put Sheffield to bed nice and early. Really made it hard for himself, didn't they? But Sheffield, as we were saying the last couple of weeks, just hanging in there, really trying to get out of that relegation zone. I think everyone knows that they might hang in there, but hey, it's not a bad point for them. And that win is just holding Chelsea back from making that top 6 that they're actually quite close to now. So that game definitely caught my attention. It's one of those things that the fans might have thought that a little bit of momentum was coming and things were starting to look a bit bright. And Poch just answered the fans again, unfortunately.
It's
What do you
pretty
do?
crazy that Chelsea's had such a shit season and they can still make some sort of Euro competition.
It's
That's how
wild.
bad the middle of the table's been this year. And credit to Sheffield, they're pretty much down and out. Everyone knows they're not going to make it or stay in the Premier League this year. To come from behind twice is full credit to them. But
McBurney.
terrible from Chelsea. That's
McBurney.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right, Adam. You think obviously the finish, the way the United game, or Chelsea United game finished, taking some momentum off the back of that, finishing some crazy scenes. Yeah, it didn't obviously transpire into the victory against Sheffield. Wanted to highlight the Everton goal, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and obviously clearance straight into Dominic Calvert-Lewin into the back of the net. Some people might say Darwin done it first. Some people might say he's just copying Darwin Núñez. Is that right? Is that what I heard you say?
Do you blame him? No. He's best number 9 in the world. You're going to take
his neighbour. He's copying his hairstyle. He's copying his finishing.
That's a good point.
But I mean, like goals like that. I mean, Everton, you could probably say deserve a bit of luck. Burnley probably do too, and it's harsh, obviously, on Burnley. They're in that dogfight down the bottom of the table still as well. But that's a big 3 points, and it was a must 3 points for Everton. Those kind of games that they have to be looking at going at home. We have to be taking 3 points, and they luckily did.
To do it like that.
Steve, anything catch your eye?
Burnley not doing themselves any favours. Sorry, I'm a bit laggy here, but yeah. Well, obviously there was again quite a lot of goals. Most teams scored over the weekend. It's for me again Arsenal's defence. I've been looking at their stats since they've gone on their winning run. 11 games unbeaten now. I think only 1 draw in there, 10 wins, 4 goals conceded. 4 goals conceded in 11 games. Although that's impressive, 38 goals scored as well.
Big comeback.
As you had mentioned, I think
are they going to go
as you get later on in the season, the defence is probably going to win your titles. And Gabriel and Saliba might be looking like the best centre-back duo maybe in the world at the moment. They're holding on and they're getting those results, just convincing wins.
Yeah, you're definitely right. The defence wins your titles, right? And that's what they say, obviously. You need goal scorers to win games, but to be able to keep clean sheets, especially against Brighton away, it's not an easy place to go, by all means. And to win 3-0, that's a convincing, commanding win. That's big. But talking, obviously, defence and where there wasn't any defending, well, not any defending, but you look at Villa and our boys Brentford, 3-3.
Wow. Not the best defensive display, but it probably was an exciting game, that's for sure.
Our boys, we haven't mentioned them in a while.
They're popping up every now and then, getting some results. But away to Villa, getting 3-3. I think Villa look at that as a drop 2 points, considering they're running to the Champions League positions as well. But I think 5th place has a potential chance to still qualify for Champions League.
Yeah, is that confirmed now? I think it's because of the top, depending on how the top, is it 3 or 4 or something in England or in Europe actually do it, or if they stay in all competitions or something like that?
Yeah, something to do with how the current English teams are performing within Europe, and the way that it's looking at there's a 5th spot going to open up as well. So they could be saved by that as well.
Yeah,
there too. But I know you want to talk about the other game this morning, which is the United Liverpool game.
I do not, but we will, just because it's trying to forget about it, but we just can't. 3 poor results against United this year. Unfortunately, we held United to them having no shots at all the whole half. I honestly, you might have to look into it, but I would say that's probably a record at Old Trafford as well, not to have one shot at all.
But I mean, United, as terrible as United have been, obviously there's problems going on there. John's potentially betting for Ten Hag. A draw away at United, especially considering United, Liverpool being a big fixture, they're going to step up for it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, would you say that's a point gain rather than 2 points loss?
I think just like this late in the season now, and like how convincing that performance was against them, I think you'd just be disappointed with a loss or a draw. I think
it's 2 points lost.
The amount 100%. Of chances that were actually missed in the game, and I'm talking like open opportunities that were missed, and then relying on a penalty right at the end of the game to actually equalise, which is poor. I think it's something now that unfortunately our only goal scorer that you're relying on is sort of Jota. That's pretty convincing. He's still on the injury list at the moment. So, But it is what it is. I mean, look, they were lucky with their first goal too. Unlucky it was Kwanzaa with the back pass, and Fernandez took advantage of that. That was a nice finish. You got to give it to him. And the second goal, Kobe Maynard was unbelievable finish. The kid is just on fire at the moment.
That was a big finish. But that Fernandez
really
goal,
good goal.
was that any reminiscent of the Gerrard slip for you?
I'm so glad.
Honestly, that was the first
Honestly.
thing I thought of. That was the first thing I thought of. I saw a mistake at halfway and then a goal off the back of it.
It was one of those things that he didn't look confident on the ball in general, and the back pass to Kelleher was just right there, and he just tried to give it to Van Dijk, and their press was really good, and they were playing a high line, and it just anyway, it was a good finish. You got to give it to Fernandez too, and then from then on, they obviously picked up momentum, and it just happened. Sort of lucky that Rashford came off injured too, because he was starting to pick up and have a good game. But I think another standout is their young guns too. Garnacho had another great game too. So, yeah, unfortunately, we got lucky with a draw. But, United took advantage of that one, as they have probably the last 3 games they've versed us.
Well, I mean, we can talk about obviously quickly about City, who's the third horse in this 3-horse race for the title, going down 1-0 to Palace, and then coming back. Just the Bruyne just
advantage, right? They did. Just holding possession and playing just until they crack them, and then bang, goal after goal after goal.
But like
he's
two finishes. Like even like his second one, the left-footed one. People gonna look at that just because he may look so easy and go, "Oh, that's an easy finish." It's not. The way it's coming across his body, so many other players would try to attempt to hit that with their right foot and completely scuff it, or hit the back of their leg with a standing foot, whatever it may be. He's got the confidence just to open his body and hit that first time with his left foot, his so-called weaker foot.
Yeah.
And he's drilled it into the near post.
He's the type of assist that he's giving or that he's trying to produce is like nobody else's. Like, it's a type of passes and attempts that people would look at like he might be stupid to do, but he's just willing to do it because most of his risks just pay off and they just start to look incredible, but they start to like feel the normal for him. And he does, man. He's like that super presence that they have in the midfield that even Foden and stuff was doing a good job when he wasn't there, but he just they just has like this presence, and the link up between him and Haaland is undeniable too. But yes,
even that game when he came back off the bench for the last half an hour, whatever it was against Newcastle, and he's just
he's an impact player, and I think City will want to keep him there as long as they can. To be honest,
absolutely.
But yeah, City and Arsenal continue to take advantage. I mean, the top of the table is still very tight. So we'll have to wait and see.
There's some big fixtures obviously coming up, right? I mean, we'll have a look at quickly what's upcoming for those 3 teams, particularly considering
most of them, they all have the same schedule. It's just a delay on who they're versing, I think.
Really?
I think we all 3 of us versed Spurs and Villa at one point, so they're big games.
Spurs have got, within a week, we've got Arsenal, Chelsea midweek, which is always a big game, Spurs-Chelsea.
Yeah, regardless, yeah.
And then Liverpool. Within the space of 6-7 days. 3
it's wild.
Big games like that. And our home run looks pretty horrendous for that top 4. But, hey, you've got to play these teams regardless, right? It doesn't matter when you play them sometimes. Well, it does, but...
Yeah. We'll get into the Spurs game too quickly. Mickey van de Ven, big signing. I'm going to say Maddison was obviously everyone's talking about your biggest signing, but he's a superstar at the back there. Unbelievable. He's a player.
I mentioned it last week about Munez at Fulham, saying, hey, listen, maybe they'll score too many goals, John, because the interest from your big teams are going to start coming in. Van de Ven, being as young as he is too, and I think obviously like just his pace, right? You say his pace, but just his calmness.
Yeah.
Like, for such a young centre-back, everyone just feels so calm when he's on the ball. Whenever he's around, he's chasing down a defender, you're like, oh, Mickey will get it. Mickey will get it.
He kind of balances out, like, the chaotic side of Romero a little bit. It's almost like a good centre-back pairing that the two of them have. Because he can get it.
Romero's
he's a bit of a hot head, but he's still got a quality centre-back, I think. But, Van de Ven just sort of an all around, and it was a great finish by him today as well.
I think you kind of like, compare it. Well, you can't really compare it. Everyone's going to give me shit for that. You got to compare it to Vidic and Ferdinand.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to my head too.
What I'm saying is, the kind of players that they are. Vidic is like your Romero, and your Ferdinand is like your Van de Ven, right?
Yeah.
And that worked for so long. It's just going to be difficult. Obviously, hopefully Spurs could keep them, and if they continue to be keep on growing, hopefully they can stay there for a very long time and be a long term partnership, because he's fantastic. It was so good to see him get on the score sheet. Big left foot strike. I'm going to say it was better than De Bruyne's, even though I just thought that De Bruyne's what a finisher was. I'm going to say it was better than De Bruyne's because he is centre back. But Werner getting another assist off an own goal as well, getting in behind, getting that ball in behind too, which is very nice. Then Pedro Porro with a
that was a nice finish
strike.
As well.
Very clean,
nice finish as well.
Strike on the volley.
Their wing backs definitely have to do a lot of work, and they make it sort of seamless now. I think the way that Andrews has made them work. Here he is.
Yeah, is he back?
Fuck me.
Well done, mate.
Am I good?
Welcome.
Get your breath back.
Before I comment on Spurs, Kevin De Bruyne. I tried to talk before, no one could hear me. Kevin De Bruyne, where does he rank amongst midfielders all time in the Premier League? But what about the players that have played under Pep Guardiola? How about all the midfielders that have played with him? With obviously there's Rodri, Busquets, Silva, Iniesta, Xavi. And obviously he played Bayern Munich as well. Played and coached at Bayern Munich.
Hey, you must have been holding back your breath the whole time that you've been offline, because you just come out firing.
I'm screaming into the microphone. Stop talking.
Could you hear us the whole?
Yes, I could hear you.
Look, De Bruyne, I think he should be in there.
He's in the conversation. Yeah,
in the conversation for the best midfielder in the Premier League. I think obviously you talk about the debate, Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, Huddleston debate. Yeah. You have to put De Bruyne in that. You have to start including De Bruyne into the debate, and if not, say he's probably
his confidence.
So hard, because you would have loved to see these guys all playing at the one time together. It is a shame, but it's hard to say because now he just stands out constantly every single game.
How relaxed does he look now since he's come back from injury? He looks unreal.
Yeah,
but it still might not be enough.
His long hair.
Yeah, it's a long hair.
Slipped back into that.
Exactly right. We did a quick recap of the.
Yeah. Sorry, did you mention UFC James Madison with his punch there?
I didn't bring it up actually.
Well, what did we think? Did anyone see it?
Tell us. Did you go for your coach's son nomination for war?
Well, I heard that the VAR didn't overrule it because there was insufficient evidence or some bullshit like that. When the cameras were clear, you can see him turn around, clench his fist, and shove one in his stomach. I thought that was a bit ridiculous. They didn't get red carded. I'm not complaining, but it's I don't know.
But I mean, again, VAR refereeing decision is going to be a very contentious issue with a lot of things over the weeks, right? And it's just one of those things that we can keep on banging on about it, no problem at all. But I mean, do we want to bring up other examples like the foul of Madison on the edge of the box just in the last week's game against West Ham, and West Ham nearly break away and score from that, where I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Paqueta who absolutely barreled Madison on the edge of the box right in his back, and the ref goes play on. My question is then, if Antonio scores that on the other end, it wouldn't have been turned over, but it should have been if that was the case.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you said, there's so many angles, there's so many things that show exactly what happened, but they don't want to make a call.
Yeah, but that's not someone punching someone, in play. And the ref, I don't blame the ref for missing it. Like, you can't see everything, and that's why the VAR's there to pick up on those small things. and I thought it should have been called back.
There was also another instance today at the end of the game. It was just a really bad tackle. The United thing, Liverpool game was Casemiro should have probably got sent, got a yellow card at the end of the
100%.
game, but he cleaned up Diaz so badly. And I think because Diaz didn't complain as maybe he got up, because it was sort of the end of the game and we were trying to get the 3 points, and maybe he just got up a little bit too fast and didn't sort of milk it. But it didn't even go to VR. Ref gave a straight yellow straight away. But commentators, everyone was saying that everyone had got off pretty lucky. And I think Casemiro
100%.
even looked sort of disappointed in his face too.
Yeah. He had that smirk on him like he knew he
was
should have been
something.
sent off.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was a pretty bad challenge, but it's one of those things.
It was
What do you
literally
do?
the last play of the game, so
Yeah.
whether that had anything to do with it.
But yet again, the EPL shows that it's the best league in the world. Another successful weekend. We love it.
Bravo,
We love
very
it.
good. Well, I'm going to say that the other association for my coaches, Sunday My Nation, I want to bring up. So I'll let the other comp sit and rest
Fair
for
enough.
a while. While we talk about the topic of the day.
Here we go.
We're going to speak about, obviously, the top highest paid transfers leading into this current season for the bought by Premier League clubs, and rate them: failure, success, or too early to tell. I'm sure there will be some big discussions around this. So, starting at number 10, Mateus Nunes, Wolves, Manchester City. £53 million signing. Success, failure, too early to tell.
For me, fail. Failure. Yeah.
Yep.
Hasn't played enough games. A lot of money. I mean, he's a good player, but was he a clear standout at Wolves? I don't think so. They needed that position where they they did bring him as backup. They're stacked everywhere. They look, but still 53, was it? 53?
£53 million,
Yeah, it's a lot of money for someone that's, I don't think is good enough to be in their squad.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I think the way he was kicking and screaming to get out of Wolves, trying to force the move to Manchester City, like you said, Stephen, I think I agree it's a failure. Especially for that kind of money. I mean, I think, unfortunately now, we hear £53 million and you go, that's all right. Or that's still a lot of money. That is huge. And I think
massive.
if you're going to have that, I think anything, 20 plus, if you're going to have that kind of price tag, you're going to have to make an impact. You're going to have to make a standout. And I think obviously it helps Man City having, bag loads of cash where they can pay £53 million and go, just go sit on our bench, go on the bench. I think it's obviously a great benefit for them. I think it's been a failure.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it's just a waste of money. You have, obviously, like you said, they've got so much of it, but they've got so many people that could already play that position. And they brought in Kovacic already at the beginning of the season. They have a lot of trust in Rico Lewis that can pretty much play all over the park. They have their academy players that are coming up that they're starting over him already anyway. Sort of just unnecessary, to be honest. But that's what City do.
Berbatov.
That's what they can do.
Went from Spurs to United for 30 million, and we couldn't believe it back then.
That was huge.
That was
Exactly
unbelievable.
And it's like, all right, we'll show you. You have to hit the ground running. And that's what I mean. It's like, I was happy just to do success or failure. Because if you're paying these kind of money, obviously it's not the player's fault. It's not the player's fault that they're spending this much money, right? However, they're paying you that much they're paying for you for a reason. They're much for you for an absolute reason. And that reason has to be a success coming. So I think normalising £53 million transfers these days, it just shows the way in which football is going these days.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to the next
fault.
one. The ninth highest or most expensive transfer of the season was Romeo Lavia, Southampton to Chelsea. He was also £53 million, plus there was $5 million of add-ons, so it's slightly more expensive.
Bro, who? I don't
Poor
remember him playing when he was in the Premier League. And they've spent 53 million on him. Has he played a game yet this season?
Played one
He
game,
came
got
on-
injured.
There
Yeah.
you go. That's
Yeah.
my answer there. Definitely piss off failure.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
absolute failure. I mean, obviously, it's not his fault he got injured, but he's definitely not a success. So it's a failure.
There was also that controversy thing happening in the transfer window that Liverpool thought they had got him. Then Chelsea came in and they decided to go to Chelsea. So almost blessing in disguise. We got Wataru Endo for 40 million less, mate. Unbelievable signing.
Hey, and he's still playing. He's still there.
Every game. But yeah, look, $50 million you're paying one match. It is injuries unfortunate. Chelsea have had bad luck this year, but yeah.
Is he young?
Unsuccessful.
How old is he?
Yeah,
He's
20
only
years
young.
old. 20 years old.
He's only young.
It's
It could be one of those where wait and see, but judging how it is now and how Chelsea are with making millions of transfers each season, it's likely to stay a failure in years to come.
But I think for this season, or you can't call it a success because he hasn't played.
No
his
way.
fault that they paid that much less for they got injured. It's just that it has to be a failure because
absolutely.
Number 8, Mason Mount, Chelsea to United, £55 million plus £5 million of add-on, so all up 60 million. I think it's another failure. These have been pretty easy so far. We're pretty much agreeing, I think, or I don't know, but we're pretty much agreeing with all.
When it happened, I thought 55 million for Mason Mount was an okay signing for United when it happened, but it just hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked.
Yeah.
He hasn't been playing regularly. United aren't challenging for top 4. So, again, big fat for me.
But again, it's the huge exorbitant fees that clubs are willing to pay for players. Who, again, I agree. I think he can be a good player, but he just showed glimpses when he was at Chelsea. It wasn't like he was a constant standout. Like, he showed glimpses of how good he can be. And I mean, he can be a good player. But again, 55 plus the add-on of 5, so £60 million.
I think, you're bringing him in for somewhat experience because he's been around for ages coming up at Chelsea. But yeah, it was one of those things. It almost seems like they're buying him in with injuries. But he played a bit of preseason and it just didn't. It didn't work out. He's 25 years old, so out of all these lists, he's the eldest. He's played 15 games so far in all cups and competitions.
Give us the stats.
1 goal, 1 assist. So 60 million.
Okay. Jesus.
Yeah.
He's
Not
playing
fantastic.
for a club that's been inconsistent. He came from a club that was inconsistent, and for the last 3-4 years, he's been in and out. And if he had that regular run of games, they probably would have paid 70 million for him.
Yeah.
Lack of confidence at United at the moment, so doesn't help.
Could be a thing across the whole club there. But, all right, this one could be a difficult one. Jeremy Doku, Rennes to Man City, £55.4 million.
It's hard. This one's hard. This one is hard because he is threatening. And I think he's a pretty decent player. And I think he's more threatening than Jack Grealish, who they've got there. And they spent $100 million for Jack Grealish. So I think he's young as well. Adam, you probably got the stats on this one. How old is Doku?
21.
21. Yeah. So I think he's had an okay season. Hasn't had a bad season. And he's had his injuries as well. He started off really good. He got 4 assists in 1 game, I think.
Yeah.
So I think for me, in between, I wouldn't say he's a success, but I wouldn't say he's a failure. Probably in between too early to judge and success.
Ooh, okay, I'm the highest pile of that. I think based on the course of the season, I think I'm going to say the other side. I'm going to say too early to tell, but more leaning towards failure. Like you said, started like a house on fire until he came up against James Milner. Everyone thought James Milner was going to be running around like a headless chook against him because Doku was in form. Guess what, mate? Milner and his experience had him in his back pocket the whole game. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, again, not his fault. Big money transfer. You started off really well. You expected to do big things, and he fell off. He started off really well, and then he just completely fell off. And now it was that game. I'm pretty sure the City were at home as well, and Milner just had him in his back pocket the whole time. So I'm going to say, look, because he's still young, still a bit too early to tell, but I'm going to lean more towards failure.
Adam, can you tell us a stat before you give us what's his stats for the year?
So he's 21. all competitions, he's played 29 games or made 29 appearances, 3 goals and 7 assists. I think, look, I'm going to say I'll lean more towards success just because of he just hasn't fallen into Pep's system, I think, a little bit because of the amount of people that they have. And, look, he was starting over Grealish a lot, and then it was one of those things where he had a sort of a lack in form. So then they were bringing him off and on. But there were those games that he stand out, and I just think he is, well, you said the pace that he's got on him, and I think he is a player and he's a talent. It's just the team that he's sort of chosen to go to. It's either going to go good or bad.
So you think he's a success? So you're saying that they've signed him for close to £60 million. That's a lot of money, and he's come in and he's
too early leading to success. But I just think it's because of the team that he's chosen to go to. The domino effect of that team and the rotation.
It's hard to just base it on stats too.
Yeah.
Because you just watch him in general play, like he's threatening. He's threatening. Compared to him to the rest of the players that we've just put in there, regardless if they've played or not, just known from previous experience, he's the one that excites me the most.
Done more, but again, defensively he's terrible.
Yeah, it does.
He's still learning his trade. He's still learning his trade 100%.
Yeah.
But if I'm going off the course of the base of the season, just for this season, I think, looking overall, going to the future, you're too early to tell. I understand that. But I think just on this base of the season, if I see someone coming in for that much money, making that much of an impact, you're going to want him starting every game and being a solid player, I'm going to lean more towards failure. Very harsh, I know. Very harsh.
Yeah, it's not nice. But he's a big fan.
But I mean, you look at people that were obviously. You mentioned Mickey Van de Ven before, Adam. He came in for a lot less than that. Young centre back. He's only like 21, 22, and he's absolutely been smashing it. So comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the difference there.
Yeah,
I think in a position where centre backs are typically they peak at a older age.
Yeah, I think, like you said, he's still learning his craft, and to be honest, he's probably at the right place to be doing that. Got the right coach under him too, so see how he goes. But yeah, 50-50 on Doku, I think.
Ooh, okay. Number 6, the 6th highest transfer coming to the Premier League was Dominic Szoboszlai. Leipzig to Liverpool for 60 million British sterling pounds.
Dominic.
Adam?
You tell us, Adam.
We'll kick off.
You tell
Dominic
us.
Szoboszlai, 23, still fairly young. 34 games, all competitions. He's made an appearance in. 7 goals, 3 assists. The thing was, he obviously started off with a bang, and he's a top player. But the thing was, he comes in and you get the comparison of Gerrard too early. It's too much pressure. It's a big club as it is already. And the things now, it's the tables have sort of turned, and McAllister's starting to become in that limelight instead of him. And he was obviously half the amount of transfer money. So, look, I think he's still a top player, and injuries obviously haven't helped him too. But I'm going to say, just for what he was and the way that he works, and he's a workhorse, perfect player for a midfield and the rebuild that we had. So I'm going to go more for success for sure.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned McAllister. I was thinking about him, and I don't know how much Liverpool paid for him, but he seems to be the one stepping up, leading into this title charge. Obviously, Szoboszlai, however the fuck you say his name, he did start off House on Fire. Was killing it for Hungary as well, but he's kind of died off a bit. But he is young. They've rebuilt the whole midfield, basically.
Yeah.
And going into the future, obviously, Pep's leaving. If Pep was staying, I would have said, they're going to just continue.
Klopp's leaving, no. Yeah. Thanks, mate. Get it right, eh?
Trust me.
Tight. They're all tight.
Fabrizio just called me and said Pep's going to.
Breaking news.
You've got to ruin the surprise for our next special guest.
No, if Klopp was staying, then you probably would have thought, okay, Liverpool's just going to stay on that level that they have been for the last how many years. I hope Liverpool stay up there and keep challenging, because I don't want to see Man City keep winning the league every year. I'm going a bit off topic here, but for me, too early. I'm 50-50 on this one. I think too early.
And what was that, 52 or what? Oh, so you're in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
I have to agree. I think too early to tell. I think you're right. Exactly, like It's reiterating, obviously, Salah House on Fire. You can tell the quality is there, and you can tell he's going to become a big player. But I think it's a fair point you raised him. Obviously, having Klopp leave at the end of the year, right? So a lot of players can really succeed under one coach and not under another coach. So you can see there's a potential there. Hopefully, whoever they're getting next year really unlocks his potential, helps him grow. That's why I'm saying, too early to tell at the moment. But yeah, I think that mentioning Klopp leaving has a big place to play.
Yeah.
Number 5, Rasmus Højlund, or if you check your autocorrect on your messenger, it'll probably come out as Hodgland. Atalanta to Manchester United, £64 million plus $8 million in add-ons.
Adam, stats.
One of your favorite players, Adam.
Stats. Rasmus.
Name 10
Another thing came in injured too. Still fairly young, 21. He's got 31 game appearances, which is quite good actually, especially for coming back starting with injury. 12 goals and 2 assists. He at that point had that massive start for the Champions League, especially how bad they were doing in their draws. He was he was the leading scorer in the group stage. But yeah, he took his time and struggled a little bit to get in form in the Premier League, or Manchester United did in general. But and another thing, coming in a lot of pressure, big money signing. Like you said, it's never really their fault, the transfer money that they pay. But he did, especially coming in injured, and then everyone was expecting him to play. Look, he's starting to work around it now a little bit, but I'm going to say in the middle a little bit. He does look a bit dangerous, but, as a centre striker, he wanted to score goals, and I don't think he scored enough this year. So, yeah, I'm going to say in the middle. Too early to tell for me.
Sitting on the fence, you blokes. Sitting on the fence.
Well, the thing is, 12 goals isn't bad. But if you're talking just Premier League, it's quite bad. You're in the lower ends now. You got probably some midfielders that are starting to score more goals than you. So,
but look, I mean, obviously, when you consider, like I said, considering going forward into the future, majority of these you can say too early to tell. However, if we're talking about just this year, you have to say failure. You have to say failure.
Got a point.
Right? He's come in to spearhead their attack, to be their main man, to pretty much do what Haaland done at City last year. Obviously, not to that kind of level, which is however many goals Haaland scored, but to breathe some life into their attack, and he just didn't. I agree, kind of not his fault, but obviously that he came in injured and whatnot. However, he just didn't produce that kind of confidence straight off the bat that you'd expect a big money striker signing would. And you look at the signings that Manchester, especially the striker signings that Manchester in the past, Manchester United would make, right? And Ferguson was a fiend for this. He would love every couple of years just rotating. Getting one out, getting one in, getting one out, getting one in. And you can name so many big name strikers that Ferguson has brought in over those years. And guess what? He obviously did his research. He obviously liked the man as well as the player. They came in, they done a job. A couple of years later, unless, he can see you still fitting in that particular team, you're done with coming the next one, right? And he was big for that. And United have an expectation that you're going to come in, you're going to come into this club, you're going to set the house on fire. Unfortunately, he hasn't done that, right?
Yeah.
And I think pretty much Rooney was like the longest serving striker that they United had, because he was the only one that they didn't let go. And you could rattle off the names that they brought in, like going backwards. You look at Van Persie they brought in for a few years, Berbatov brought in for a few years. Going back even earlier than that, you look at Louis Saha, Gunnar Solskjaer, Van Nistelrooy's,
Tevez,
Teddy Sheringham's.
Clinical for sure.
All the best strikers in the world at their time. In their time,
this is what you expect from a United striker, right?
Yeah.
You come in, you score goals, do job, and he hasn't done that. So failure for me.
Fair enough.
Big fat failure for me too, actually. I've scrapped Mr. Nice Guy. I don't care how much he costs, how young he is. You're going to Manchester United, who think they're the biggest club in the world. He should be hitting the ground running regardless. It doesn't help that he's got two rats behind him in Anthony and Bruno Fernandes. But I've got to judge him, Højlund, and he just hasn't been that guy for United.
Yeah.
Garnacho seems to be their main man at the moment, doesn't he?
You just don't know where you're going. United just don't know. They haven't got any direction. And Ten Hag's probably going to be out at the end of the year. It's probably not going to help him either. The new manager might come in. They might sign someone else for 70 million, and he'll be on the way out.
I think, unfortunately, for Rasmus, he was too busy waiting for a miracle to come. Pay it, award it, you like it, his song. Anyway. Yeah, the song that he sings, his song.
Oh my god! Yeah, definitely move on.
Could be a song in our playlist.
Yeah, your Micah just on this week, mate. Get out of here. Garbage.
Number 4, fourth highest transfer, Kai Havertz, Chelsea to Arsenal, £65 million. Who wants to start us off with this one?
It's probably the most controversial on the list.
Oh, you reckon?
My God, these guys, supporters were not happy spending that much money on this guy. When they brought him in,
Yeah.
70 million including add-ons is wild, especially the form that he was coming from Chelsea. He's not a bad player, but he just was one of those things that just didn't work out. And I think everyone just like talks about his Champions League winning goal. But I will say now, coming in, he's 24, 43 appearances, which is quite good. He's not very injury prone. 11 goals and 5 assists. And I think most of the goals have sort of started to come in probably the last 10 weeks.
Yeah.
He's picked up form massively for club and country. So, this one's very hard for me just because Arsenal don't really have that goal scorer too, do they? They're starting to, most of their attacking line are contributing to their goals. Gosh, I don't know, man. This one's too hard for me.
Come on.
I'm going to say...
decision.
Just because of his recent form, I'm going to say it's too early to tell. Big
Whoa.
180. Massive 180. Massive.
Okay.
Yeah, if you asked probably anyone 3-4 months ago, it would have been a big fat fail because he wouldn't have had almost any of those numbers that you rattled off. And I think he's become an important player, actually, in the last couple of months. He's making regular appearances, scoring regular goals and assists. They don't have an out-and-out striker. They're all sharing the goals around, and he is contributing to those goals. So, for me, it really depends where they finish. At the moment, I'm kind of on the fence, but if they go on and win the league, I think he's a success. And for the guy that's coming up later on, I think it's the same for him.
Good point.
Look, I think the noise surrounding and the negativity surrounding at the beginning of the season was deafening. I don't think we can go away from that. I think if we're going to take into consideration the start the other players had on this list, like your Szoboszlais, your Dokus, you have to take this consideration as well. For me, it's been a failure. And look, you have to obviously look at just the start of the season. You have to the whole season as a whole, right? Don't get me wrong. He scored 9 goals now in the Premier League, and considering that he was kind of a mismatch in the sense that they didn't know where to play him, position-wise, they weren't too sure. He's finally found a home and started getting comfortable up front, and I think it's again for someone that's costed upwards of £70 million to not have a set in stone position for when you come into a squad. It's got to be a failure. Got to be a failure coming in. Obviously, there was big there was big negativity around him at the start, and he's obviously turning around, which is great. But I think you can't ignore the noise that it was making at the start of the season. So, failure for me. They're at number 4. Number 3, Josko, however you want to pronounce it, Gvardiol. RB Leipzig to Manchester City, £77 million.
Insane.
It's a lot of money. It's a ridiculous amount of money. And he's been playing at left back. Not saying he hasn't been a good left back, but he's a centre back. He's a centre back. And how many centre backs does City have? They've got about 5 world class centre backs.
The Louvre. Yeah, plenty.
Diaz. I mean, you look at Ruben Diaz as an example. Again, he came in big money at the time as well, And he in his first season at City, you could have said he was probably the best centre back in the world.
Yeah,
I think he made team of the year, no?
Yeah,
for sure.
like,
Yeah.
and I think
and
for
he
this
will
kind of money,
continue.
Vardiol hasn't been convincing for me.
No.
So I'm
And
going to call it a
even
failure.
100%. And when you're saying you're spending that much and you're probably not consistently starting, Akanji is starting as well, probably on top of you occasionally. And Akanji was like £10 million, which is insane.
Kanji,
So
and
with
Nathan
a steal,
Ake.
with a steal, yeah, Ake too. And then City occasionally now with that drifting midfielder, the way that they play, it tends to go three at the back. So occasionally he's not even playing. He's got 29 appearances, and most of those appearances coming off the bench, I think.
Yeah.
So
I think
lot of money, that's just a City money. But again, it's just City
is it
money.
his fault? He's
Not at all.
Man said he's paid 77 for him. He's young as well. Yeah, he could be there for 10 years. This point, but at the moment, it's a fail.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think as well it's important that we note that obviously when we say fail, it's not just a fail on put it on the player.
No. Yeah,
The club as well has to be obviously looked at and go, no, this was a failure of a signer. It was a wrong signing. Like, or it was way too much or whatever it may be. Like, and that's what we mean, obviously, when it's a failure. It's not just the player, like expectations. But I think if it's a success, you also have to credit the club. You also have to credit the player. So I think we basically clarify that, obviously, that we say it's a failure in the sense that he's not real comfortable there. Okay, he's not slotted in. This is a Manchester City team where you think, obviously, as soon as centre-back comes in, he's surrounded by the best players in the league, the best players in the world. You'd expect it to be very comfortable in any position there. And obviously, you mentioned Doc at the start. He came in house on fire. Obviously, didn't, for me, has been a failure throughout, but he came in look comfortable. Like he wanted to prove a point straight away.
Yeah.
Didn't get that feeling with Vardiol.
No, most of these guys have just come in off a treble-winning team too. You have to think about too. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. You got to try and back that up. I don't know. It's a lot. So
100%. All right.
Sorry, just before we move on, obviously we're getting to the crunch end of this. He's one of those players, and you could might be good to think about for the rest of this list as well. Could have that team done without that play. If that play didn't even exist, how would that team go? I think Man City would have been in exactly the same position where they are today. He hasn't improved the squad one bit. Where Doku, I think he has improved the squad. Vardiol, absolutely not.
Yeah, too much depth in the back line.
I've got a big question, but we'll save for the end.
Okay.
Considering there's 10 players here, there's 10 players on the outfield. If this was a team here, if these 10 players were one team, how would they go in the Premier League? Hold your thoughts as we move into number 2.
Holding it.
Declan Rice, West Ham to Arsenal, 100 million plus 5 million in add-ons. What do we call this one?
Tough.
You want me to go? Want me to give you stats?
I'll just say straight off the bat. Look, I think it's a success.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a success. I mean,
top signing. Top signing.
I want his stats back.
Stats. So give us your stats first, then we'll explain.
Just coming off winning Europa 2 with West Ham, finished on a decent note there. Conference.
Huge.
25 years old, 100 million, as you mentioned. He's made 43 appearances, which is fantastic, to be honest. 6 goals, 6 assists, playing as a predominantly a 6 defensive midfielder. You're getting compared or just underneath Rodri, to be honest. I think the way he's like fit perfectly into Arsenal is tremendous, man. It's a top signing. But it is today's day and age transfer market, the budget. 100 million is stupid money, but it just is what it is at the moment. But, mate, I don't think they're sleeping bad at night for spending that money because he's performed, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's performed.
He's here, there, and everywhere. Is this one of those blokes, like you said, fit straight in? And I would love to see, like the Arsenal last year compared to this year, how many goals they conceded, and basically almost all stats. He would have boosted their attack because he cuts out the ball, gives it straight to their creative players. He shields the back line. He literally does everything. And I think across the board, all stats from comparing to last year, if you compare it to before they dropped off at the end of last year, I think he makes that team so much better.
Yeah, I think even when he was at West Ham, like he was just head and shoulders above the rest of them there, right?
Yeah.
Like he was fantastic.
Yeah.
And you can see obviously why they spent the money on him. Like I said, crazy money. It's a lot, but I think that's one of the ones where you can say 100 million compared to the name that's coming next. We'll go to that, but I think I'm going to say this has been a success. Signing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Can I just say as well, Arsenal's gone out and spent money on big money on two players. And Liverpool did the same thing a couple of years ago, didn't they? They did that with Virgil and Alisson as well. Obviously, big money coming in. And what a difference they made to that squad. I think it's the same thing, especially for Rice. Havertz, he's been okay. But Declan Rice has been that player.
They also bought Timber too, and he was unfortunate. Copped the injury, hasn't played the whole season predominantly too.
I'm yelling Timber.
Yes, sir.
The number one. Moises Caicedo, Brighton to Chelsea. Number one because it's 100 million, but plus the 15 in add-ons.
I think
another
dodged.
Oh my god!
Yeah, wild, right?
Explain to the listeners out there because this is a very similar situation with Liverpool as well. With Lavia.
Yeah. This is very similar to the Lavia situation. Done deal. If you almost just make any comparison from the main source himself, Fabrizio Romano, all confirmed, good to go. Moises Caicedo traveling to Liverpool. His plane took a detour, decided to go to Chelsea. And another dodged bullet, to be honest, I think. He's 22 years old. He's played 34 games, 34 appearances, and 1 assist at the moment. He's got about 8 yellow cards, I think I saw this year. Another thing, paid the money. Chelsea's got the money. Same sort of Man City scenario. A lot of young players that don't have experience, but he just hasn't sort of really fit into that team. Predominantly, it's unfortunate because it's somewhat not his fault. Like you said, it's always this thing with the price tag. A lot of pressure on the kid.
But part of the responsibility is not making impact. No. Like I said, I expect a £50 million, a 40, 30, whatever. Like, this money, these signings, I expect these players spending that much money, you're coming in straight away. And I understand if you're a 20-year-old, you're paying for not just this season, you're paying for 3-4 seasons in advance. I get that. But even more so when you're spending over 100 million, you have to make an impact. Imagine when Madrid signed Ronaldo. Imagine when Madrid signed Bale. When Barca signed Suarez, Neymar, and you're going to say, we'll give him a couple of years, whatever. No chance. And these guys showed how good they were because they did. As soon as they got started, moved to those clubs, those big teams, they were showing. They were on show. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't been helped because Chelsea have been struggling, right? But his individual performance as well cannot. You can't say that, hey, the team's struggling, but this guy has been an absolute standout.
You can still be a standout in a shit team.
Look at Cole Palmer. Look at Cole Palmer, right? He's... You probably, if anybody was watching that and say, hey, who's the £100 million signing in this team, you point to him. Point to him straight away because he's going to be paying for the future as well. He's scoring goals, he's making a difference, right?
Not Jackson.
Jackson. Right? So, no, sorry, but in comparison, obviously, similar sort of situation, midfielder, like Declan Rice, he's big money. Declan Rice has come in, made a big impact. He's slotted straight in. He's a very big player, but he's come straight in. He's made a difference. You'd expect the same from this kind of money he's spending from Caicedo. Has not happened.
He's made an error in his first game that's led to a goal, and it's literally just been downhill from there.
And funny enough, that actually was against Liverpool. So I copped him as soon as he started.
That was probably Chelsea's best game of the year.
I mean, it actually was because Chelsea looked super promising from that game. It was at Stamford Bridge, and it just went downhill from them. From that game.
But Liverpool going to spend 100 mil.
Oh yeah, you believe that? This is the thing that still bugs me to this day. You're going to spend $115 million on Caicedo, but you weren't willing to spend $100 million on Bellingham. I just don't get it to me. It's just one of those things, you will never know. You will never know.
All right, so now knowing the top 10, how would you think if this was a team in the Premier League? Look at the money.
I'm going to
that was
say,
spent.
yeah, stupid money. I'm going to put them mid-table, though, for sure.
At best, mid-table. Sorry, but at best, there's too much liability going on. If that team was to play in the Premier League this year,
If you say we take out injuries, how do you think they go?
so, I'm saying just names on a paper. How I think they go compared to other clubs, I would say around 14th.
I would love to compare this team to these top 10 signings to top 10 signings of 2008, for example, to see the big names that were on there and to see how they went in their careers compared to these guys. And I can guarantee you they were all massive stars where more than half of these guys that we've just mentioned, we've said that they've been a failure. And probably in 6 years' time, I reckon they won't have the careers as what those guys did 16 years ago if we compared the two lists.
Well, the thing is with these guys too, some of them are on minimum 5-year contracts. So you don't really have to stress necessarily a little bit with money coming in, game time eventually happening. It's just consistency is there. Whereas players probably back in the day were sort of fighting, thinking, oh, God, I could cop the boot here. I've got to play to win bonuses.
I've just done a quick Googling of the top 10 Premier League transfers of 2008, biggest ones. So at number 10, 12 million, James Milner from Newcastle to Villa. What a player he's turned out to be.
Big player.
14 mil from Spartak Moscow to Spurs, Roman Pavlyuchenko. Wasn't that striker? Again, he was one of those ones where, he was going to miss. Next one, 15 million from Blackburn to Spurs, David Bentley. I mean, he's one that had big potential.
Signed on big potential.
Yeah, you look at the players on the list currently this year, signed on big potential, nothing happened. Then you got £15 million Standard Liège to Everton, Marwan Fellaini.
Oh, wow.
I would say he did all right. I was going to say he probably did all right. The next one, 15.8 million, Dinamo Zagreb to Spurs, Luka Modric.
We had a big year that year.
Hey,
What a player.
that was all from the
Did you guys get that money?
That was all from the
true.
and Robbie Keane, which is coming up, right?
Yeah.
Again, what a player, right? Next one, 16.2 million from Porto to Chelsea, Jose Bosingwa.
He's a good
Again,
player.
I think he was all right. Wasn't outstanding. The next one, 18 million from CSK Moscow to Man City was Joe. I don't know if you remember the striker Joe. He was garbage. He was terrible.
On your mic, Joe.
To be honest. Next one, from Spurs to Liverpool for 20.3 million was Robbie Keane.
Who
Big money.
Proven striker.
Exactly, a proven striker. That's true. The
money.
next one was from Spurs to United, £30.7 million, Dimitar Berbatov. What a player.
He did tops for United too.
What a player. And then the
100%.
most expensive one was at £32.5 million from Real Madrid to Man City, Robinho.
Oh. I think that was this was when the new owners actually just came into Man City this year. And there was big talks about players coming in, like I remember like Kaká and all that sort of stuff. And Robinho was the only real one that was a legit concrete offer and that actually came in and started to help them out. And that's when they started to rebuild.
But you look at those signings and you think, especially the top two, Robinho, proven player, you know exactly he's going to hit the ground running straight away. And he did quite well. He wasn't obviously a superstar like the other ones later came, but Berbatov, Modric, again, he took about a few months to get settled in, but he came in, smashed. There's a couple in there you probably say were rubbish, but I think in comparison to probably this year's list, you'd probably say there's probably a bit more success stories than failures compared to this.
I think a lot's changed, but a lot of things are advanced now, and in comparison to back then, and a lot more to play.
Monopoly money now.
Yeah, a lot more to play for back then than potentially now.
More cash.
We think facilities have advanced, and ways players travel, and like you said, money. Like it's different, but
nothing.
Crazy list.
List.
You
So,
never
yeah,
know.
there's
I think,
our opinions.
I think it'll be exciting to see next transfer window because this is just sort of the start of stupid money that started to be spent and players that are going to move around. But also I think clubs are also going to be a little bit wary with all the financial fair play that started to come in. So with potential new rules maybe coming in, but there's still going to be big money thrown around. So
Well,
excited to see what
there's
happens.
such a big pool of quality and talent when
Yeah.
there's enough to fill every team anyway, regardless. So,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy when you see, like I said, City buying players just for their bench, just being the top 10 spendings just for their bench.
Who knows? By next transfer window, City might actually get those 115 charges dealt with, huh? So what happens?
Yeah, they'll pay it off with
what
115 million. Bravo.
So what happens?
All right.
Very good. Very good.
Our favourite time of the week, the Coach's
Yeah.
Son nomination.
Sir, we'll make it quick snappy this week.
Ooh, what have we got?
Quick snappy.
Yeah. Shall I lead the lead the
Yeah.
scene?
Yeah, lead the charge.
All right. I'm gonna say it was actually from this morning's game against your little club. I'm gonna go with
Bit rude.
Chris.
Middle club.
No, I'm joking.
Chris.
Chris Wood scores a nice goal, also misses the biggest chance of his life, hits the post, could have knocked himself out how hard he kicked it. I was going to scream at Darwin Núñez for missing a close sit-up, but I think Chris Wood's might have been worse. So Chris
Yeah.
Wood is my nomination of the week.
I'm surprised. I mean, like, the way he hit it, so close to
Oh,
Vicario,
man.
putting his face in front
Yeah.
of him. Well, he didn't even have to hit it that hard.
Man,
He hit the
belted it.
out.
belted it.
2-1. They go up 2-1 at that stage.
Yeah.
He had a shock
change.
after that. He had
Yeah.
a shocker after
Yeah.
that. Poor bloke.
That's 'cause
Mentioned
that's
so
good.
2 weeks in a row. Yeah.
Let's give it up the other week.
Yeah, good on him. Happy for him.
Stephen, who have you got?
I went for a bit of an obvious one. With Burnley fighting relegation against Everton yesterday, I should say. Probably one of the teams that they thought they could have beaten. I'm not going to give it to the goalkeeper because if I give it to the goalkeeper, I could give it to the coach again as the coach's son because that's just how they want to play. I'm giving it to the guy that got the red card. After they got the red card, I shouldn't say it's almost game over because they played with 10 men against Chelsea for 50 minutes and got a result. But it doesn't help them at all. And I feel like it was a must-win game, judging where Everton are and where Burnley are. What's his name? Dara O'Shea.
Well, I'm surprised Adam you didn't go for your mate was it Kwanzaa at the back there for his mishap of a
I'm trying
pass.
to forget about it.
But I'm going to go with something a bit outside the square here, outside the
That's a box.
Yeah, outside the box. I don't know who to put, so I'm just going to brand it just Turkish football. Turkish football. I don't know if you guys saw this.
Football.
This morning?
It was their cup final this morning.
Wild scenes.
Galatasaray versus Fenerbahce. And
Okay.
Fenerbahce wanted to protest against Turkish football about them being treated unfairly over these last few weeks. And by protesting, what they did is they put their under-19s out to play against Galatasaray. Sure enough, what happens is, within a minute, I think it was Icardi, Galatasaray go up 1-0. So Fenerbahce go, that's it, enough, we're not playing anymore. And they
Walked
come
off.
off.
No.
And
Could
they
not
walked
believe
off.
it.
And Galatasaray was celebrating.
Could not
Really?
believe it. And then Galata, I saw like Icardi, everyone was just clapping him off and saying good job as they're walking off the pitch.
That's huge.
So, I mean, because I don't know, I was trying to do some research. It was very hard to try and find exactly what happened, obviously, with the Fenerbahce versus their FA story and stuff like that. I was going to give it to Galatasaray for actually go out there and winning, but they've done their job. So I'm still brand of Turkish football as the coach of some of the week because that's fantastic. I love to go and put the under-19s out there. You go down 1-0. What do you expect to happen?
And,
And then you know what? Actually, forget it. We're just going to not play.
Yeah, unreal, right?
And we do know what happened, but we want you to go and do your research.
I
Made it this far. Do your
I
research.
told you that they felt like they've been treated quite unfairly by the Turkish FA, so they thought they would stage a bit of a protest.
That's
I know.
huge.
Such a
In the
big
cup
game.
final.
Strange, eh? Strange.
Wow.
But that's football. This is another
Sure
story.
is.
That's
That's
wild
That's
world
football.
football. of games.
And that is episode 22 of The Coach's Son.
Bravo.
We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
love it.
Don't we love
you
it.
love
So,
it.
guys,
You love
thanks for listening once again.
Thanks, guys.
We really
Thanks, guys.
appreciate it. And like I said, hopefully the weather's holding out. Give us a like, follow, subscribe on socials. Make sure you're commenting, liking the post, sharing the post, doing everything you can. And come down and watch. We'll give you an autograph from 1 p.m. this Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening in, guys. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. The Coach's Son, episode 22. Be back next week. Thanks again. Ciao. Chupapi.
This was not meant to happen. This could not happen.